in. Probably the most important game he's played so far today. You could argue the ELCS finals, but now at this point, of course,
yeah. I mean, once you've then won the EU finals, the next step is MSI. And if you are Fnatic, the goal, of course, is to go to top 4 after you win a bunch of games and you actually look really good with some very creative mid lane picks. They actually went away from it yesterday. Tried to put caps back on Yasuo earlier, but that was, of course, banned away in this one.
I mean, they acquitted themselves very well this tournament. In general, I think Fnatic caught a lot of people's attention, had a lot of individual outplays. It's probably a career-building tournament for Caps, but kind of like what you're suggesting, the magnifying glass is on Reckless a little bit. When fully set up by his team for success, he hasn't really stepped up. But as a secondary carry, he's been very good.
Very, very true. But one of the problems for them with the Tristana and the Sivir is that it's a slow AD carries. You know, 3 item AD carries before you really start being very impactful in the games. So a lot of the other teams that can play things like Israel, as we see here.
Yep, 2 item spike.
Yeah, exactly. 2 items. They can start being really, really useful. And then Fnatic have to actually play pretty disciplined and play pretty clean in the mid game to simply avoid the enemy team from getting big advantages. And we saw against Team Liquid yesterday, they were not able to do that. They lost every objective possible and got set almost too far behind.
And we're seeing here as the picks and bans come through, EVOS having more early game power as well. The Morgana for the support lane. We see what that 2-on-2 is in the bot lane. You expect Ezreal Morgana to have the advantage there. They keep Reckless under his turret, and that can help Yijin navigate his jungle as well in the Skarner. Can be a very fast clear and can get a lot done. Maybe even an early Drake or something in this game.
Now we need EVOS to select 2 solo lanes. One of them will be the first pick on the red side. They've banned away their own comfort of Stark jumping onto the Ornn. Does suggest a top lane counter pick, but then the mid laner will be left a bit more exposed. When they've had to blind pick mid lane, it's been the Cassiopeia that can certainly be preyed upon. Very interested to see which lane they actually blind pick in this case.
I mean, there's still things like Malzahar that they could actually take for Warzone. We've seen a lot of teams find success with it if they don't play around their mid lane very often, but this is going to be Stark blind picking the Gnar on his side. Makes it a little bit safer, I feel, for Fnatic. They don't have to fear that Gnar is just going to finish the game in a side lane. Oh, let's see.
Whippo looking at Aurelia to counterpick Gnar with. 10 seconds to go until he's forced to lock in his champion. And still looking at something very spicy. I do want to see what actually comes through here. Some smiles from Reckless. Gangplank, okay. And it's interesting because we have seen both sides' matchup considered positive. Gangplank gonna have to be withstanding damage, but should outscale and do plenty of damage later on.
It did evolve into being a net positive matchup for the Gangplank as the season went on, at least in the LCK, as we got better and better at delaying, at getting through those awkward early levels. The Rageblade Gnar, actually, at 2 items, has a lot of threat onto Gangplank, so the build coming through from Stark will be interesting, and no surprise that when it comes down to blind picking a mid laner, Caps goes something that has worked previously in the Zoe.
And something where he can really carry. I think that's the most important thing for Fnatic, and something they realized today after the Karma pick yesterday. They need something where it's Caps who can be a huge, huge playmaker. We get that Cassiopeia. You highlighted just before here, Papa Smithy. It has been a go-to pick for Warzone, but rarely very effective.
Now, the thing about it, though, is they've had to blind pick it very early just to pick it up at all, and they kind of had drafts fall around them where Cassiopeia had to deal with the threat of an Ornn. They had to deal with a lot of other factors that kind of took away the advantage of her in the lane. In terms of the lane here, we actually have a volatile one against the Zoe.
Zoe Cassiopeia going to be a pretty big one there. Of course, Cleanse on Cassio, no surprise, get around those bubbles, but without a blink on the kit, Pillars are still very good crowd control, and the chase down could be had. Keep on, we've seen Skarner get some really good ganks off into a Zoe as well. No natural escapes there either. As you mentioned, a volatile lane. Warzone said he wanted to come to this tournament and prove his dominance, knock everyone else's teeth out, Mr. 1,000 push-ups himself. And well, in his last game at MSI, he's up against maybe the best performing mid laner in the tournament in Caps, who had looked so good for so long. And now Fnatic at 4 and 5 need to build some space above Team Liquid to make that run to the top 4 better.
That is the important thing. If Fnatic lose and Team Liquid win later today, Fnatic will drop out and will not make it into the playoffs.
And they will only have themselves to blame. They certainly have on paper the easier opposition. Right on the last day, last match of the tournament, scheduled at least, it is Team Liquid against RNG, who are in fantastic form.
Fun one to watch. So final time these coaches shake hands. Final time these 2 teams will play at MSI 2018. We will bid adieu to EVOS Esports, and Fnatic hope that they will not be the case for them. Droxa, one of those players who have kept them in this tournament. Those Baron steals against Flash Wolves were mandatory to win that game yesterday. And let's see if it's up to him once again as we get onto the Rift.
Let's check the level 1 here. We've seen Fnatic with some good aggressive ones, and we also saw them actually give up first blood against Team Liquid yesterday, very early on in the game. Crucial for Fnatic and their confidence in this game that they don't fall behind very quickly.
And the evolution of the level 1's been super fun to track. Yesterday, we were seeing so many 1-minute 30 invades just as a buff was about to show up from game 1, where Peanut and friends jumped over and killed MLXG at his blue. So just because there's a defensive fan at 50 seconds doesn't mean the action isn't about to ramp up.
I also really want to follow the bottom lane because there's so many eyes on Reckless specifically and his overall performance. It's been tough for him. It's been very hard for him to do well in the laning phase. A lot of times he had to concede a lot of pressure and see the enemy AD carry just smack away on his turret and fall behind in CS. This is again against a double range lane. And there's also that TP on Slay to just instantly get him back in lane after first back. That is a lot of pressure coming from EVOS' side.
Slay gets a free ward thanks to Kleptomancy, so it's a little division down with his trinket at the beginning, but can certainly keep track of everything else. And Brox actually will be forced to kite away this early invasion from EVOS. Temporary 3v2, now 3v3 as Reckless rejoins, and they're going to say, you know what, afraid enough of this one. They're going to let this one go back to Brox, and he will get his red without too much more difficulty.
Oh, EVOS actually gambled on Broxen not starting on that red buff, seeing as they didn't even want to fight over anything. Level 1, you don't want to deal with GP. He can actually deal a lot of damage to you, but on the return, sadly, for Whippo, there's of course a range advantage for Stark.
With Grasp, it makes it pretty nice. You heal, you do extra damage in those Qs. It's pretty easy to stay in combat once again. Just lots of Grasp procs in a row, and Stark forced to leave his own lane. Oh my gosh, Whippo doing beautifully here in this matchup.
Very awkward that he's being chased out at level 1. Now, because it's not Klepto, the profit margin's a bit lower for the Gangplank. He hasn't invested in quite the same stocks that we usually see him in. But lane control as a GP, such a big thing as the game goes on. And Cap's doing a bit of a scouting mission of his own.
Yeah, I think he knows that Yijin had to start on the bottom side after that late invade. And if we can walk in, not being afraid of a jungler, Brox is already killing his blue buff, and now he will be double buff, potentially looking for an invade.
And this does mean that Fnatic in general will have a lot of information about where Yijin is going, having seen that the camp hasn't been started topside. They know he's bot side the map. So right now, when it comes to Broxer, he has so many different options because he knows exactly where Skarner is.
And Bop! Warzone loses a bunch more health right now, and this is looking like a very good game for Fnatic, who did get knocked down earlier today, but this wouldn't be great for them.
Exactly. I think just the best thing, you ignore champions. Actually, I see top lane.
Yeah, damage on the Stark. Of course, Hop is there, but it's going to be a long cooldown, but still has to keep forfeiting CS, maybe even sometimes experience. And either way, Gangplank getting a free lane, always a nice thing to see.
Brox also is waiting for the next wave that Caps can push into the turret, and then he can go in towards the red buff, so Caps can always roam with him. Just making sure you're maximizing your mid laner's experience and not forcing him to instantly leave. Yijin is on his way.
And speaking of roams, Reaper would also have priorities. He's pushing in a big wave. Yijin finally gets here, doesn't see the red already taken. Broxer will get out.
He was rushing to get there too. He popped Predator to leave the base faster and still couldn't find his own red buff in time. And now Broxer kind of battled this one. A defensive controller to make sure he can farm this. And okay, Brox will only look mid, looks to the pillar on the war zone here, gets up the slow. Now Cap's gonna look for that sleep, gonna find the damage output, gonna be knocked down with the ignite. First blood is in, delayed the flash so long and still gets killed off.
Yeah, felt like he should use the flash earlier, but wanted to conserve the longest summoner. Well thought out by Caps and Brox, and I love Broxer on the front foot, from going top to chunk out the Gnar, guaranteed to have first rotation of top lane and mid lane when he went for the red buff steal and then the successful gank, but this is a greedy back.
It's a little risky. Yijin can flash onto him if he lands the E.
I don't think he wins. Yeah, of course he wins, sorry. I'm trolling on the health bar right there. For some reason I put the health bar on Yijin. It's like, oh, he has 5 HP, be careful now.
Well, he didn't think he was going to win because he didn't go for it.
No, that's true.
He just backed away and stopped the recall, so Caps is still in the lane. For now, let's see the replay once again. It's so important for Fnatic that not only does Broxer get a good start, but also he gets Caps rolling. Gank in, and here, of course, as you guys highlighted, Warzone could have instantly flashed the pillar. Tried to be cheeky, I guess, and get a bit of damage down. Caps, just be careful.
Oh, has to jump right back away. I walked forward on the Miasma, but then flashes back over to get some distance. Of course, that was the Spell Thief flash, so not a huge cost to him.
It must have been related to item costs for how long he delayed his back. It's a very greedy back from Caps, so have it interrupted again. Could have shopped at any point after Warzone was forced out of lane. But obviously an item timing like the Lost Chapter was keeping him in lane.
Yijin does get a camp for himself and steps away. Obviously, as I wanted to mention earlier, I think the fact that Fnatic gets Caps on a skill matchup and on a champion where there's so many things you can do if you're mechanically very gifted against Warzone on another very aggressive pick in Cassiopeia, and not just a simple, you know, push lane and roam champion, is really big for Fnatic player versus player-wise. But Warzone, he's going top now.
Let's get a roam here. Webbo's going to land the Q. He's pretty far up, but Stark is low. Here comes the attempt. Good flash, gets away from Miasma, but the chains for the jump is going to be there. Warzone can keep the chase down into the turret. Goes for a bit more damage. Now has to pull back. And Whipple manages to run away just before the flash.
He managed to make the champion a push in roam champion, but they can't get the last auto to get the hyper proc and just don't have enough damage in the end to take him down. So pretty close shave there for Whippo, but given how much lane control he had over Stark, getting the flash down early might mean a wraparound when Skarner's ult's available.
And earlier we talked about how EVOS with the double range and the TP AD carry could get control of the bottom lane. They have already pushed it in now, so they can start that Ocean Drake. Despite losing the fight in the mid lane, they still have control on the bottom side. Brox says
play
here.
hop, yes, he gets the second bounce away. Now Stark might have to flash because this one Gangplank goes down for more slows, and Stark just doesn't have an escape. Broxa blocks that one out. Nice kill picked up 2-0. Fnatic traded though to the Ocean Drake in the bottom.
And Brox has been ahead of the play in both little micro interactions on his two ganks in a way that you cannot say EVOS has been able to be. Brox has really pulled these off very cleanly, even with the minions to hop onto. He was ready with the pillar.
Yeah, Brox has definitely been the most underrated player on Fnatic this tournament. He's had so many good early games. Now Caps will once again win the duel against Warzone, and this is why we talked about the difference in just pure player skill between the two guys and how this will benefit. Caps looking for another one.
Oh, the Drowsy could be a good setup, but the minions in the way. It's going to be hard for Caps to find damage. Q's going to come up, and just not quite in range for that one. That would have been a big chunk off of Warzone there.
I think it's very important for Fnatic to control the early game, because the mid game here, deceptively for EVOS, is, well, there's another long range Battlestar hits, a pick comp. Because if you think about how team fights will go, or when any sort of tete-a-tete 4v4 action happens, we're going to see the Black Shield on Skarner. He goes in, the Miasma either on top or behind. No one can join. One person will die to focus fire. So even though you see the traditional Zoe in a pick comp, I feel like EVOS actually has the mid-game pick comp on their side.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to see Yijin secure a kill in the mid lane against Caps, by just flash ulting onto him and then destroy him. The bot lane will keep pushing. That's going to be fine for them. They don't need Slay to win this lane harder. And here's the gank.
Just like you asked for, Deficio.
Isn't slept, and here comes the suppression in there. Not quite going to get the stun from Cassiopeia, but there's still no out route for Caps taken off. And finally a kill on the board for EVOS.
And this is perfect, because you know Caps is going to push forward. You know he's looking for the trades. Just punish him, start getting some control in the mid lane, and then you can actually move towards the bottom side later and secure first turret.
And when we did see Skarner versus Zoe in the meta earlier in the season over in Korea, the QSS timing was something we would always be very close at watching. We saw players pick it up even before a Lost Chapter or a tier as the meta evolved. It's been delayed here, and that's a very big invitation for Yujin to come basically every time as Impale off and pick up a kill.
Oh, Stark now spotted here. Again, it's going to be a quick pillar. Jumps over, but he's still in range of Whipple for a lot more damage. King's Tribute in there as well. Flashes for distance. How about this barrel chain? Who's going to land that one? Not going to get him with the explosion. Stark gets away, but burns the flash for it.
This time, no Gangplank ultimate. This time, not quite enough damage. Thought with Stark so low on the Narbar, there was a chance that perhaps he could be taken down. Not to be. Top side has been an area controlled a little bit, you'd say, by Broxa, but this red buff will be taken by Yijin.
And now we want to see Yijin go towards mid again. He didn't use flash last time. It is available for him to go in once the ulti is ready, and Caps obviously doesn't have a QSS this early on, so there's really no way for him to avoid the gank.
He's pricing himself into what looks like probably a Ludens is his first item. Quite a lot of gold from here. We'll see if he does disrupt with the QSS. If not, like we already both mentioned, Deficio, go mid every time the Impaler's up should be a kill.
Oh, nice easy juke by Slay. Hellsong didn't know he was on a ward. Honestly, I respect making the attempt. Morgana was far, but easy to juke that when you see it coming.
So for Reckless, we often see this like a lot of backs early game. He wants the tier 2 boots instantly for more attack speed and movement speed. And then he even went back and got a few long swords. Let's see Fnatic. It is just Broxa moving down at the moment. GP ult is ready.
And he is spotted, of course. There's that ward not spotted by the trinket, or it's not spotted by the control ward. So no gank to be had.
And again, maybe just coming back to Reckless and the Sivir pick, you mentioned already, it's about how many items you load onto the carry and how long it takes to build. Speaking to a lot of AD carries around this tournament, they say, hey, if it's more than a Rage Blade or a tier item, it's too late in the game. And that's something that's a reason why we're surprised to see the 3-item Sivir as Warzone.
Forced to cleanse yet again. Caps is really doing a good job outplaying here in this lane, despite the fact they split kills.
Keeps trading forward. Yijin is moving into mid.
Oh, no cleanse for this one. Can Caps get the damage? But flashes in for it, but oh, no, blocks some damage. Gameplay coming in to join this one. Now Caps, can he make the outplay? The heal comes in, the suppression onto the turret. right in Warzone. Gets the poison for the kill, and now the re-engage of Stark has roamed down. Broxton does not have flash to get out. He's going to be slowed several times. Hopped on as well. Another stun comes in, and he just does not have the way to escape this one. 2 kills come through for EVOS Esports.
We have to remember, Caps swapped out his Ignite for a teleport right here, so when he jumped in, I think maybe he was expecting a little bit more burst to come from his champion, but there was of course no summoner to be added onto it. GPL did come down towards the end, but Warzone just managed to sneak around and stay alive. Big win for EVOS.
Yeah, no proto belt to be picked up like Maple yesterday to get the extra burst. They can't quite take down the mid lane turret, which really would have isolated the Zoe from having an impact on the lane. If they can get a turret down, they've got the TP AD carry. They're going to have so much map mobility. Almost disaster for Fnatic.
And this is why we just want to see Yijing play around this mid lane, because Caps will keep doing this. Jump forward, takes the trade. Now he's expecting that he can actually destroy Warzone with everything landing onto him, but the GPL comes down, Warzone flashes away from it, and he's just missing a tiny amount of damage because I think the corruption potion was running the entire time for Warzone.
It's at home. Pop your potions. Always good piece of advice for solo queue. That is what saved him, no doubt. Deficio. Roxa walks in. He got the wrong RSVP that time. He'll go down. And EVOS, with nothing to play for, but pride, are showing their pride is still intact.
And it would just sound like fair game, right? I mean, we think about the Europe and North America clash, which is what, again, Fnatic is playing for here. One of those 2 squads are going to make it into the top 4, and every time it's like, oh, there's that one upset loss the team got, and how much would it be fair game if EVOS gets to split their wins against Europe and North America equally, and you know the battle ends up being a bit more fair between the 2.
I think it's a tough crowd to put that 1-2 in this time zone, Freak, but I appreciate where you're going with the narrative.
The 7 Liquid fans up there.
You got a few.
Sorry, the 4 Liquid fans, even if the number isn't that many, you've got to fit the memes here. Either way, this is a close game between these squads. EVOS now on a 400 gold lead, and this Drake now respawn. We'll see if they can keep that bottom lane control going.
And we haven't looked a lot at the top lane, even though we had a few ganks up there. Like, the GP is getting really far ahead if compared to Stark. And that's obviously a big thing for Fnatic to avoid Stark being that split pusher in the late game, like we saw in the Camille game last time these 2 teams played each other. Whippo's performance is crucial. Now he's back on a carry champion. Ocean Drake being started. GPL is not available for a couple of seconds in case the fight breaks out, and Caps is actually back in base, so this should be free.
No ability for him to walk up. Slay has had priority in bot lane for the majority of it. That's what you expect before. It's quite a lot of AD loaded onto the Sivir. The second Drake, and now even more comfortable laning for EVOS.
And this has actually been a problem for Fnatic, giving up a lot of early Drakes. Typically because they don't have a lot of bot side control, unless Caps is hard winning mid and then roaming to that bot lane. But this game, it's been focused on ganking top side for Broxer, so it's kind of left Reckless and Hylissang on their own. Oh, that's a big trade.
Yeah, Stark's at half HP right away, gets another barrel. Really well played by Whippo. The ulti onto the turret, looking for a bit more, now has to get disengaged, of course, with turret aggro, can't make that happen. Yeah, Stark walks in the lane and loses 2/3 of it.
Could have just teleported onto the turret, but the Black Cleaver may look cool in the inventory, but going to get him nothing. He's already chunked out of lane. Whippo in a great spot. Because of the lack of Klepto, the CS lead isn't like we usually project when you see a 30 CS lead on the gangplank, but the Trinity Force isn't too far away.
I think it is a big thing, though, that Whippo used ult to try and 1v1 and force a flash. Now he doesn't have it for this bot lane play, and typically with GP, you want to actually save that ult so you can still add some global value for your team. Yijin seems to be around top side.
Mega Gnar ulti's gonna land. There's looks like no oranges yet. Flashes gets hit, but this one here comes the suppression, and the 2v1 is gonna be too good. EVOS gonna grab another kill in a row, picking up kills across the map.
How those Predator junglers rolls in like Aramis. I was waiting for the oranges, but they were not gonna save him through this. They can get a lot of damage done with the Black Cleaver and the fresh shop that EVOS have already had here. Maybe first turret blood on the top side unless Caps spares their flushes.
They're on their way to try and stop it now. Caps not sitting on a lot of mana. Will probably just force EVOS away. Can he hit Stark? Nope.
Not gonna Rousey just yet. Looking for the big Q. Pillars there to help the setup. And now with not a lot of escape tools left, no flash, no Narbar. Caps goes in, has a Chilling Smite to send for a little bit more of a slow, and that will be a trade kill. Fnatic finally answer back.
The Caps had actually picked up the Predator on the way to get there quickly. We're seeing another map play happen though. So probably gonna have to vacate the bot side as Cassio's joining bot.
And Fnatic's missing that GP ulti now for the bot lane, so there's no way for him to really stop EVOS from going in and actually taking down the turret. They're still going to be first turret for EVOS, despite them not getting a top. Well, they had that bot lane pushing in. 170 CS for this Ezreal in the early game. He's going to be massive in the mid game, and he's against a 3-item AD carry on the other side. So big difference between Slay and Reckless.
And to clarify what we mean about 3-item AD carries, needs 3 to turn on for the big power spike there. So Reckless will be troughed underneath his Ezreal for very, very long. And you see, yeah, Brox had spent so much time ganking the rest of MSI. At least able to hand over the blue buff to Caps right now. And to be fair, Broxa is all the kills in the team. I don't think he's having a bad game for himself. But Yijin has gotten in for so many more right here without even dying as well, has really helped these lanes stay afloat.
And Yijin has had a lot of struggles recently, as early in the tournament when we saw the Kazakhs. There's the Predator I mentioned, was able to pick it up and actually chase this down. But Yijin suffering on the Kazakhs, not being able to pull that up. Some down performances recently. This time he's been around the right lanes. His lane ganks have been in the right spots, and that's allowed EVOS to have a much stronger early game than some of their recent matches.
It is fun to see two junglers just try their best to snowball their lanes, seeing as we both with Broxa and Yijin constantly around looking for something. Meanwhile, it is Slay with the red buff now going to top side. Fnatic cannot really do anything against him 2v2, so they're trying bottom side.
Gnar gonna look for Hylissang, not quite gonna grab a good walk back, and now a re-engage. Look at the front line. Is the burst gonna be there for Stark? Back to Mininar, the damage up from Reckless, and Broxa pick up one and the disengage. Broxa no longer with turret aggro, seems okay. And now Yijin at only 600 HP, but will not be pushed anymore. The flash forward, Caps can't get away! He can't get away, the Twin Fang is gonna make it happen! Warzone on a killing spree!
They're actually able to pick up a kill. There was a misplay there. Yijin used his ult on the target that wasn't tanking the turret, and thus wasn't able to punish early. But nice roam again by Warzone. And the later pick Cassiopeia has been a lot more helpful as they're trying to chase down the Pyro.
Well-timed Orange just barely even misses a beat here. Now Whippo, first run, but doesn't get the barrel this time around. The slow is going to come in from Ezreal, and Slay gets one, 6-4 EVOS.
And Slay's going to get another turret as well for EVOS here. They are just winning across the map. Fnatic did not get the bot lane turret because they had to run away after the minions died. There's so much pressure on the European team, and right now they're crumpling.
It's a sort of game where cross-map play should be lost just by the virtue of Gangplank being in the game. But as you mentioned, Deficio, Whippo getting kind of greedy after being priced into an all-in because he got so much damage by the aggressive teleport from Stark. He used the ult there, and it could have been used so many times for minion waves cross-map since then.
Well, now you can see the state of the map. 2 turrets to 0, 2 Drakes to 0. The Rift Herald looks like it's going to be the target of EVOS as well here. A lot of pretty strong performers on this team. They've got to hold up for Stark, who's had a very rough landing phase. As you mentioned, the Gangplank tends to be a winner there, and a lot of pressure from Broxa, but EVOS overall winning pretty nicely here.
Yeah, if you're Stark, sure, it sucks for you, but you're going to click tap right now, and you're going to be oh so happy. 2 turrets for your team, your 80 carries now sitting on 2.5 items, 18 minutes in. Your mid laner picked up 3 kills. His life is actually great. This is not a good play on his side. That's why he dies, but the important thing is he actually killed the minion wave. And now, Fnatic needs to run away instead of getting a turret.
Also, really nice roam timing for Warzone, though I think has struggled recently in this tournament. He's so confident on the Cassidy, wouldn't be blind picking it in so many games for no reason. Matchup, like we said already, was that volatile one into the Zoe, and he's certainly pulled it off so far. There's some nice burst onto Run-OP.
Run-OP gonna have to tuck his tail and run into that one. Down on 300 health right here, but Slay looking for a little bit of wave clear. They've got this Skarner nearby as well. He's gonna fall asleep. Will they find the re-engage? That answer's gonna be no. Fnatic gonna run away. And Slay feels confident, walks up, lands a couple of Qs in a Hylissang.
Oh, he's strong right now, level 12 on the Ezreal. I feel like we've said this a few times during the tournament, but right now, the win condition is Caps. Because your AD carry still needs 2 items. Oh, there we go.
God.
That's why it's Caps, who's the only member who can actually do this and try and force EVOS back. The GP still wants more time to scale, while Brox has picked up 4 kills, and it's great for him. He is mainly going to build to support the team on this Trundle. Caps is your main damage dealer, and as long as he can do what he's doing now, he can probably stall the game for Fnatic.
Well, they're going to have to do that for a while. Again, the power spike is different on these bot lanes. Maybe Whippo can find something good on the split push on Gangplank. He's certainly doing well gold-wise, individually up only 300 because of all the turret kills. He's got to still build up a bit more here. Cloud Drake going to be grabbed, no problems here for EVOS, so stacking these up. Our Baron's up in 8 seconds. And as EVOS are the team with map control, but only up 2,000 gold. Might take a while for that to be a major target.
Pretty tricky for Fnatic to re-establish map control. Probably need both Broxer and Hylissang to come down. You want to safely be able to put down vision, and that means they've been playing with a very narrow map, and Rift Tower is going to be summoned in the mid lane. One charge takes this turret down.
The charge is available, but not going to get a lot of damage across it. Yeah, it's based on its own health bar and actually gets re-aggroed on a champion. Shelly is not going to touch a structure this time around. Nice play by Fnatic.
And EVOS also felt a little bit too confident there in the quick charge. Let's see if they can do something around the mid lane, around up B and Slays here. Maybe, but it's like, fine, we have to do it ourselves. Kill this turret. Another thing just to quickly highlight, because Fnatic are behind now, building a QSS is actually pretty difficult. It really delays your core build, and that means Yijin, with Flash soon and a Righteous Glory plus Predator, he will always get to a target, and that target can't get out of the ulti.
Timing for the QSS is always so difficult to choose. It's not clear, and Reckless has the spell shield, so he'll be able to dodge out of it. But the damage burden, like you highlighted, Fisher, is so heavily on Caps that it probably has to be after the next item, and that's the paddock for the Skarner to roam. And anyone he sees is free food.
A lot of space still for Fnatic to try to play for, as they do get a little bit of time and get a couple of wards around this Baron. Expect that to maybe be a likely objective in the near future, as the outer turret line is all gone. I want to see as EVOS what they can pressure for. They've got a lot of wards in that bottom jungle, actually, if they're looking for maybe that bot lane tier 2, but it's up to them what they want to play for.
Yeah, the only good thing for Fnatic is they can hold the Gnar very easily in the side lane. But the 4v4 is heavily in EVOS' favor. If they actually bait around Baron and just use it to click Righteous Glory on Yijin and rush at Fnatic once Fnatic show up, they should be able to get a fight and a bunch of kills. Like, if they play this correctly, they win this game.
And the timeline for that is probably when we see the Targon's brace into the ability to ward here with the quest completion on the Skarner, because then they'll be able to put down so many wards to make Fnatic accountable as they walk up to the Baron. And we already outlined that they have the mid-game pick comp. The Skarner rolls in with a black shield, the miasma onto the target, onto the rest of the enemies, and the ability to split from the team. The damage will register with all the early gold that EVOS picked up.
And that Relic Shield is 2/3 of the way towards quest completion, so Yijin is not that far away from having a Sightstone in the jungle.
If we just pan up to the Baron, there is a tiny ward being placed behind it that's not being spotted. This one is actually the only thing giving Fnatic information on what's happening around the Baron. I think EVOS should have either use the sweeper in there just to check, or worst case, place their own control ward. For now though, Yijin is setting up for potential flank. This could still be huge for them.
Well, they find a slow on Brox. The chase in actually forces the flash to Brox, but now being spotted out by Stark on the right-hand side and puts a bit of damage forward. Their pillar in the disengage. Yijin couldn't quite find his target, but Reckless, Hylissang, and Brox are now all missing flashes. No summoners burn for EVOS. Round 2 might look a bit better, but Slay is 1/2 for his health right now. Might have to back off for a while, wait for this Ocean regen to kick in.
And the ward on the pit is once again the MVP. You want a control ward on the pit and then in front of it to stop anyone from coming down. They eventually problem solve smartly there, EVOS. And now, as Fnatic, you don't have the luxury to be as far back.
And they don't really have anyone who fully wants to face check this. Like, Broxer will still die very fast against all the members. They're starting it now. Fnatic, they need to go in and stop this.
That's now both blue trinkets down. Can they find themselves a fight? Cannon barrages on into the front line. Look for Hylissang down to 1,000 HP into the front. The Traps to the pull back in though, and they get capped, but a huge barrel explosion. Can Whippo be the carry? Broxer certainly cannot. Hylissang forced to run 2 kills already for EVOS. Another barrel. That one though not a crit. Doesn't do quite the damage he needs. As turrets fall from minion pushing. Fnatic finally get one to the board out of mid lane, it looks like. EVOS very, very low, 5 versus 3 on the map.
Ocean Drakes will start to spawn, and remember, there's still a threat on the back.
Good oranges.
It's just so hard for Reckless to push damage with no backline, and like you say, someone coming in to force them away.
Fnatic's base to the bottom left. There's no easy way out. Whippo pretty much surrounded in this one. Doesn't get that barrel either. The slow, the Twin Fangs are in, the poison. The kill comes through for Warzone. TP and for Slay to rejoin.
And we see that fight here. We talked about how to start the Baron and turn for the fight. If you're EVOS, you're so far ahead. Your AD carry is already insanely strong, and Reckless only sitting on 1.5 items. Just not enough damage coming from his side. Only Whippo's big barrel actually did something.
So Caps wants to join this fight. 800 HP, not going to find the steal. Broxer nowhere near in range and gets spotted out for it. Another kill. Now EVOS finds their 10.
From behind, it's so hard for Fnatic to do anything because Sivir usually does damage as a product to how strong her front line is. Her front line is very, very weak early in the game. They have to face out and give up their health bars in order to contest the Baron. Then Reckless is zoned out and everyone on EVOS may be blinking, but still safe.
Yeah, so now he enters the fight here after the big hit comes in onto the back line, but there's just no time for Fnatic to really start hitting anyone.
Yeah, Reckless puts in, what, 3-4 autos onto Stark. He never even gets a bounce onto anyone else because the health bars have to be sacrificed just to check the Baron buff. That's the reality of when this comp falls behind.
And then chase down, of course, there's just so much to use. Even the Cloud Drake kicking in for a little bit as well. And not a lot people could have done about that one.
So Yijin looking for another one. Still only QSS on one member, which is of course the Braum. That means that both Caps and Reckless are fairly easy targets for Yijin. Caps actually currently sitting on Ghost on his side, so not even a flash to get away if anything should happen. He was still in full control. They have all the damage in their favor, and they have the engage.
Seeing them continue the siege here to see if Slay already had his Seraph's Embrace, but if he doesn't, he's so close. Only 26 minutes into the game.
There's a big chunk. Of course, you expect if Caps was 5-0 instead of 0-5, maybe Slay's at 10% for this one. Does get the poke to knock down that cannon minion, but it's not going to be enough. Turret will still fall. Sad for Caps, has quite a bit of deaths here. Of course, this team is still alive based on how Liquid plays later on today. Fnatic fans can still hold out hope, but EVOS looks like they are about to end their MSI on a win. They feel pretty good for their fans out here.
Earliest transformation of the tournament for this 3-item double tier upgrade on the Ezreal. Seraph's around 25 minutes here, which is insanely early. And a power that's loaded. He's got the defensive shield, 40% CDR. The damage doesn't need to be introduced, and EVOS continue to play the map, and Fnatic have to hope they're playing one lane, looking for a turnaround. That's the best they can hope for.
They're hoping EVOS to stop pushing down and get an open inhib very quickly. That kind of is the last defense you tend to have. The moment these inhibitors start cracking, it's just impossible for you because you have nowhere you can safely actually sit and defend. And suddenly you got to deal with super minions. EVOS, they have all the Drakes, which also means, worst case for them, if we do go past 35 minutes, well, their Elder Drake is going to be massive. And Fnatic's, just like yesterday against Team Liquid, it's going to be a useless Elder Drake.
And even before Elder, honestly, this is not a bad Drake setup for what you're up against. Caps is going to get a lot of poke down. He's going to chunk Slay to, half HP, and then 3 seconds later, he's back up to a healthy threshold to keep fighting. So this actually lines up well with the game state.
I do want to note that Stark is building purely for lane here. Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, that's the standard now build for a long time. The Rage Blade third, your timing here is always up to be decided. With the Rage Blade, you have that Hyper and Mini-Gnar form proccing every 2 autos. You just kill Gangplank, and he hasn't gone with a very early Sterix Gauge, so he cannot really enter lane, especially when that item is complete.
And this will be another game where all the European fans are going to look at the draft. And they're going to look at specifically the bot lane and this Sivir pick. And I think very few people are sitting at home right now thinking to themselves, this makes perfect sense. Of course you should pick Sivir here. He's the only AD carry doing it right now. Almost all the other AD carries are aiming for strong bot lanes where they can try and win or where they spike much earlier in the game. So when you have these moments where your mid laner maybe does not get ahead, your AD carry can then take over. But that's not happening for Fnatic, and that's why Yijin could just camp mid.
And early in the tournament is saying, where is the Caitlyn? Another 3-item AD carry when it comes to really turning on Vindy Edge, Zeal, really getting there with a second Zeal item. That's a champion with an impressive laning phase, so you can kind of understand the introduction. Sivir has a passive laning phase and takes a lot longer to get online, whereas with Slay, it feels like every item that came in, he got immeasurably further ahead of this Sivir until 40 minutes in the game.
Mention some other AD carries like the Rage Blade ones, which are not being played by Fnatic. Kog'Maw, Varus, Kai'Sa, these kind of picks that we see a lot of other teams favor, because on one item, you can actually start dealing pretty decent damage in these fights here. But the situation is that Fnatic tried to get Caps and Whippo ahead, but Yijin, he said, nope, that's not happening. I'm going to gank those 2 lanes.
Yeah, it is an interesting story. MSI has been a tournament, it feels like, of teams playing their own styles to a certain degree, and some of them have worked out, and some of them, of course, have not. Fnatic, of course, still in that running for a playoff spot as we redirect to this game state as it stands. Baron buff has timed out. The outer turret line is gone, but inhibitors yet to crack. We have seen Fnatic make some very big base defenses before. If Reckless does get to that 5, 6, sometimes even 7 in the way it looks like for him sometimes state, that is still a win condition in itself. And he's getting close to that one, honestly. There's only about 600 gold to go until he's online without IE, and suddenly he can start shredding champions.
Yeah, I would actually say it's the only win condition left, you know, in the playbook for Fnatic. It is simply wait for Sivir to get her items and hope that EVOS cannot instantly grab the next Baron and use it to close out the game.
We can talk about what EVOS can do, but the problem here is for Fnatic. What can they do? Gangplank can't enter lane against Nars. Hit these 3 items and make him unassailable in a split push. The Zoe can't actually get enough setup to actually look for a trouble bubble because she's just dealing with minion waves. It doesn't feel like Fnatic can force anything more with EVOS. We've said from the mid game onwards with the Skarner, their force is ultra reliable.
It is, but there's about 1 minute until they've got to be able to, they'll be able to force something with this Baron, and that timing should line up with Reckless affording Infinity Edge. He's right at that mark, and if his team takes the CS from him, I think it's a misplay here. You can see that gold is very close. I think it's about 1,300 to finish IE from this state.
And then the important thing for Fnatic, and that's kind of the problem for a lot of teams if you fall this far behind, but the important thing is the next team fight you take, you cannot lose. If you lose that fight, game is done. And that's always the issue when you really fall far behind and you use all the objectives, all the turrets, is that you simply cannot be allowed to make any mistakes, or the enemy team will just be so close to your base and typically so far ahead that you just end the game. And that's going to be the big question now. Can Fnatic perfectly execute the next team fight and actually take down EVOS?
Where the biggest gold lead is felt, around 4,000 gold between the two 80 carries, and that's with a cheaper build on the side of Slay. So he's in a fantastic spot. Baron setup's been extended. It spawns in 15 seconds.
Yep.
Sneaking a ward in there. We see 2 blue trinkets, one of them on cooldown. We do see Sivir with another one.
So 4-item Ezreal, 3-item Sivir. This is now all about, as you mentioned, Bob, is maybe the Baron set up a duel in this side there right now. Stark's got to outplay the barrels, and they're just waiting to rush the Baron. It's not even spawned yet, but now they're going to go for it here. And Fnatic are so far away. They're going for a collapse on Gnar as the trade. A kill for Baron. This is certainly a positive trade for EVOS. Whippo gets the kill with help from Hylissang, but no one is around to stop this Baron. Honestly, the vision setup was too all-consuming, so Fnatic looking for what they can get secondarily. It's a kill, and it's 1 turret.
Yeah, EVOS, they know there's still no QSSs on these carries, so if Fnatic shows up, we just grab them and kill them at the Baron itself, and that's why Fnatic decided to make the play against Stark. Now we have multiple lanes being pushed in, all the way down to the base of Fnatic with these buffed up minions. Gotta wait 25 seconds for Stark though.
Consolation prizes may be really all that Fnatic have to look forward to, and their fans as well. The kill there onto Stark, potentially a playoff game later today, depending on the result of Liquid versus RNG. Fnatic have had such a lot to cheer about this tournament, but now it's all about the clutch, and they were heavily expected to take down EVOS in this game.
Well, Slay has 1,080 damage ultimates, and now actually has a Gunblade to complete the nice little mix of this.
Okay.
Instinctively, I don't think I love it because he's got lifesteal already, but it is a nice damage spike and it's some crowd control to help dives, I suppose.
Yeah, and the AP also is useful with some of your scalings in there, but it feels like a win more item in this case for himself. But there is, of course, not a lot of tanks. You got to get through it, so he doesn't really need a last whisper at least.
It's definitely something that Korean solo queue has been enjoying, who have insane life leech up abilities. We're hearing an ult.
Ooh, flash out from Ron OP. You can see that damage still there for Caps, and as we mentioned, Reckless is on 3 items as well. It's about how these team fights can be navigated. Certainly more gold, more items, and a buff on the one side. Finds Hylissang QSS out, but that's going to be the kill. He was isolated by himself fighting for wards, and the kill comes up for free.
Oh, that's a good start now. EVOS should be able to get into the base of Fnatic, knock down that first turret. Slay on his full build here. Can even jump in and take a few hits from the turret and just heal up on a single Q, smacking into a minion.
A long time to bring out the side lanes.
Oh, that damage up, but now he might have to burn flash to get away. Caps wants to show up the pillar in there and has the cooldown reduction to come back over the wall, stays alive. Cannon Barrage gets some poke, but this is a 4v5 from Fnatic. You can see that damage not that high against Yijin. As the siege continues, his turret likely to fall. Starks splitting on the side, not yet found by Caps. He drives, he's only a minion, and that turret's going to fall now onto the inhibitor. Fnatic will have to back away off this one. Give up one more part of their base. 5 seconds on the Hylissang respawn might signal the retreat for EVOS. They've got a Cloud Drake alive to stack 3 and 2. Or they might stay for the siege, but the health bar is a little bit lower. Stark only at 1/2.
No reason to back off. They keep pushing up. The damage not going for the tanks yet.
Oh, good Black Shield keeps Warzone able to walk away cleanly. Slay almost finds it. Arcane shifts out and gets the damage of it to find the kill. Hylissang dropping yet again. Still 5v4 now inside the base with the Baron buff on. And they've got time, about 30 seconds, 50 seconds of this Baron buff. Trade of spells, almost gets one more to pick off. And now look on the side lane, Whippo very low. Slay really playing aggressively onto this one, finds another Q, forces them back as the turrets are starting to fall. EVOS looking to end the tournament on a win. They've picked up Broxa as well. Only 3 left to defend Fnatic's honor, or they will drop to 4 and 6. The turrets are falling, one last hard engage as Whippo's forced to run onto the Nexus turrets. They're going to fall. They've picked off almost everyone. Reckless alone with a single assist and no deaths, but his Nexus will fall, and that's the part that matters. EVOS find their second win.
And I'm giving my MVP to Yijin. Early game, there was a lot of pressure in the mid lane from Caps, but he knew if I just go mid and stop Caps from getting far ahead, then the rest of Fnatic's comp is scaling. The GP top lane and the Sivir bot lane. So when he shut down that mid lane with Warzone, it bought so much time for EVOS to suddenly start taking control of the map, and they used that very effectively to then continue snowballing.
And their execution against Fnatic 2 times. The first time in the split push, not to a victory. This time in the poke comp in the mid lane. Like you mentioned, Yijin, whose mentality had to be in shatters after the last couple of performances where he was really disseminated by enemy junglers. They all reload, they all say it's all about just this game, and then we go home. They go home with a victory and a bit more pride.
And we see another Israel game where you get to that mid game, you get your 2 items, and you just start making plays around it. He took down the outer turret, and the first big team fight around the Baron was huge for EVOS. He also ended up the game here on the Israel from Slay's side, dealing 25k damage, which if you look at Warzone on the Cassiopeia, he did 9k. Huge difference between the AD carries, Reckless sitting on 11 on his own side. So he never got online. He got to 3 items when the game was basically over.
Yeah, and the really sad thing about that is I don't think Fnatic ever got the chance to play a real team fight. Hillsong got picked off before the middle inhibitor went down. Then they fight for the top inhibitor when the health bars are already low, and yet again, off in the side lanes. Slay makes really big plays, and the Ezreal actually finds an isolated 1v1 and able to kite it back. So I really do like how he played it on the Ezreal. Also, of course, mistakes from Hillsong.
And the standings implications are so large now. North America really could make that surprising run and actually make it all the way to the top 4. A date against RNG, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, Fnatic are going to be RNG's biggest fans right now. They have to beat Liquid, otherwise Liquid take the spot with a win. Either way, we're going to head now down to the State Farm Analyst Desk for more on that game.
Thank you very much, Freak. With no chance at the semifinals and with only pride to play for, EVOS come out and they hand Fnatic a loss here to make things even more interesting heading into the final stretch of the day. And I mean, again, EU fans are going to stand aghast at how this happened.
Oh, I don't think they wanted it to be this interesting.
No, I can confirm that they didn't want it to be that interesting.
But huge credit to EVOS right there. And it wasn't just the fact that it was Stark again, because Stark actually got shut out quite early on in the Gnar.
He was slammed.
Exactly, repeatedly ganked, put onto the back foot, but Slay now having his time to really shine. I know that Deficio highlighted Yijin down there in the jungle, but for me, it was all about that Ezreal.
We keep seeing Fnatic jump out to these good mid and top side advantages early on in the game. And right at the very start, there was actually a failed invade when EVOS was trying to split the map that set their jungler behind. The first kill went over to Fnatic. It looked like it could have been one of those games where they just steamroll EVOS, but the lack of pressure that Fnatic has been able to generate in the draft bottom lane, like there's no way Sivir Braum actually beats Ezra Morgana, really cost them because they weren't able to play a pressure draft. It simplified Skarner. He just had to go mid lane and gank Caps, who was not respecting the Skarner, and they completely lost control of the game.
And I think that not respecting the Skarner was such a key part for me because it's fine if your bottom lane doesn't have pressure. When Gangplank is slamming a Gnar in a 1v1, Caps is pushing Warzone in under his turret, almost solo killing him, multiple times. They had so much pressure in those solo lanes, but if you don't, A, counter gank those, B, get vision and actually protect them, or C, just kind of have the sixth sense to actually back off when he could be around, then you're going to be giving over kill after kill. So no matter how much better Caps is than Warzone, as an individual, he gave over so many free kills to Yijin. That allowed Warzone to stay in the game. Same thing for Stark. I mean, he should not have had any relevance in this game with how it started out. Being half the CS of a Gangplank who outscales you, you shouldn't be able to do anything, but he was gifted multiple free kills.
I mean, that said, I understand that the breaking point definitely happened in between the jungle and the mid lane and what was happening there, not shutting down Warzone, but I keep looking back at the draft and I keep seeing these Sivir Brahms when caster supports have been such a big priority. A lot of people are going to focus fire in on Reckless here, and I do think that there is an effective champion pool issue that needs to be discussed. The fact that they can't use a threat like Kai'Sa or haven't been able to showcase showcase it at MSI. But also Hilly, you know, the fact that he's not getting these priority picks into the bot lane. If that's a team decision or if that's a bot lane decision, I don't know. But it just seems like a fundamental flaw for Fnatic because they keep losing with the strategy. The games aren't going long enough for that Sivir to meet that 500 CS win condition.
That said, the game was relatively tense for a solid period of time until the Baron dance, in which EVOS comes out ahead very smartly.
Yeah, looking at this, you can see they just peel right off the Baron.
Wow.
Big disruption by Stark right there. And everyone gets so low from that one ricochet, but because they're able to get the kills and because they've had so much Drake control, in part because Fnatic has had no bottom side pressure, the Ocean Drakes healed them up a good amount and they're able to re-engage with the teleport.
Yeah, the teleport here was so good from Stark, kind of pulling them in, as you said, double Ocean to be able to buy you some time, and then Stark straight up coming in. He has the Frozen Mallet. You get one auto off there, you're going to be able to chase him down.
Yeah, and credit again to EVOS to not overcommit to the situation and to wait for Stark to get into position, because throughout the tournament we have seen them get antsy around these clutch plays, and like you said, if they go in and Reckless just hits one ricochet, everyone explodes.
Right, but more important than the game itself is what the game means for the remainder of the tournament. So I want to take another look at the standings and break down what this means not only for Fnatic, but the remaining teams to play.
I mean, Fnatic started the day with their destiny in their own hands. Now it is no longer the case, right? They are depending on RNG beating TL, which certainly is possible. RNG has been looking incredibly good, and if that happens, that would then force a tiebreaker between North America, between Europe.
Right, and that means for NA fans, hopes are rising as Team Liquid, who started the day without their own destiny in their own hands, now have it entirely.
Yeah. I can imagine some NA fans waking up, checking their phone, being like, ooh, the Flash Rules post-game thread, that's interesting. Oh, they won. Then they turn on the stream and they see they're in a tiebreaker game. That's actually very possible for what could happen.
That could happen
here.
just a bit
You
later
weren't expecting
today.
that when the day started, especially in that fashion. Or they could be playing against Uzi. They have already beaten RNG earlier in this tournament.
And we're actually guaranteed tiebreakers at this point. If my foldy sheet is telling me the truth here, we are going to have one or two tiebreakers depending on the following results. But that means there are going to be these tiebreakers, for first or second, or if it's for fourth, we don't know yet. But definitely a lot on the line still here.
Yeah, the next game is big. It's a battle for first place. We'll break it down on the other side of a break, though. For now, we're going to head it over to Shox, who's standing by with EVOS' top laner.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Stark after they beat Fnatic. Now, Stark, you did say that you guys were going to beat NA and EU at least as MSI, but it feels like you played very competitively in some of the other games as well. How do you look back on your performance overall at MSI?
Em nghĩ sao về cái màn trình diễn chung của EVOS tại MSI này? Chúng ta đã nói là chúng ta có thể đánh bại được EU và NA. Nhưng mà cuối cùng thì chúng ta cũng chỉ đánh bại họ được mỗi đội một lần mà thôi. Và nhìn chung thì chúng ta cũng đã có một số trận đấu mà làm khó được các đối thủ khác. Vậy thì đánh giá chung của em về màn trình diễn của EVOS tại MSI này là gì?
Em nghĩ là bọn em đã thực hiện việc vận hành vào những phút đầu tiên khá là tốt. Nhưng bọn em không biết cách tận dụng lợi thế đó để triển khai nó về sau. Mà thường là di chuyển theo em là chính. Thì điều đó nó bị các đội khác đánh ở nửa phần còn lại của bản đồ rất là nhiều, làm cho bọn em mất cái kiểm soát trận đấu. Thì ở trận vừa rồi thì bọn em chuyển hướng là thay vì là đánh trên top thì bọn em đánh phía dưới và đi theo cặp đôi đường dưới để kiểm soát ván đấu.
So we did pretty good with the early game in all of our matches. But we didn't know how to use that advantage to finish the game. And in the mid and late game, the team don't really know what to do except like wait for me to split boot. And the other team, they know that and they try to exploit that by attacking the other part of the map. So we realized that weakness, and in the last game, we try to play around our bot lane and to give them the advantage and play around them. So that helped us to win the last game.
It seems like you guys learned a lot throughout the tournament, and through your great performance, you also secured a spot for the VCS and Vietnam directly in the group stage of the World Championship, which could very well belong to you guys if you win the split once again. What do the next couple of months look like for EVOS, and how much do you think you can improve?
Đội đã đảm bảo được chắc chắn rằng Việt Nam sẽ có một suất ở vòng bảng của chung kết thế giới ở mùa hè này. Và nếu như EVOS đánh tốt thì đó có thể là cái suất của chính EVOS nếu như các bạn bảo vệ được ngôi vương của mình ở mùa hè. Vậy thì trong những tháng sắp tới, cái dự định, những cái kế hoạch của EVOS cho VCS là gì?
Em nghĩ là bọn em sẽ cố gắng luyện tập thật nhiều và cải thiện những chiến thuật không chỉ là xoay quanh em mà là xoay quanh đường giữa hoặc đường dưới. Và bọn em sẽ cải thiện về việc kiểm soát bản đồ và vận hành chiến thuật nó tốt hơn với việc có nhiều lượng tướng hơn nữa.
So we will try our hardest to practice as much as we can, and we have to diversify our strategy. We only know how to play around the top lane. We should be able to play around the mid lane and the bot lane also, and we will try our best.
We'll be looking out for it. You've made a lot of fans once again, Stark. And now I have to ask you, since you beat both NA and EU, and Team Liquid and Fnatic are the two teams still in the running for the 4th spot in the semi-final, who do you think is going to take it?
Sắp tới thì EU và NA vẫn còn đang tranh đấu rất là quyết liệt cho cái suất cuối cùng của top 4. Vậy thì em nghĩ rằng giữa hai đội Fnatic và Team Liquid thì đội nào sẽ có được cái suất cuối cùng này?
Em nghĩ là team The Liquid, bởi vì là cái việc mà giữ vững cái tâm lý thi đấu thì rất là quan trọng. Và việc mà NA thua bọn em ngay từ trận đầu tiên đã dẫn tới kết quả không tốt. Cũng như Fnatic thua ở những trận đấu cuối cùng thì em nghĩ Fnatic đang gặp khủng hoảng về tâm lý. Còn NA thì đang liên tục win. Nên em nghĩ NA sẽ vào.
I think Team Liquid will make it because they have stronger mentality. Although they started the tournament really bad when they lost against us, but they keep their head strong and they keep going, keep winning. And Fnatic, they play really badly the recent game. So I think in the mentality side, Team Liquid had the upper hand.
Team Liquid with the stronger mentality. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Stark. I hope we'll get to see you again at Worlds. Thank you for talking to me. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more MSI action after this.
It's up the slow. Now Caps